So now that you've decided to use Photoshop, now what? Well, you start out with sort of the interface right here, but now you either need to create a new document or open an existing document. So if I go to File, New, or Control or Command N, this will bring me to a dialog box that allows me to not only name a new file, but also choose from different presets and figure out what size I want my file to be. So it's important to know the dimensions and resolutions and color mode of your final document and think of that before you actually create something. So for example, if you want something for the web, you'll notice that the resolution is 72 and the color mode is RGB, and this is in pixels. And this also actually gives you sort of presets of different sort of default dimensions for the web. Versus if you wanted, a photo, you'll notice that the resolution is 300, and this gives you inches, and you can always change this right here. So these are important in terms of you can use the different presets, and then you can actually change it from there. So the color mode is something that we'll discuss later, but if you're doing something for web, RGB is the way to go, and that's for the screen. And if you're doing something for print, CMYK is for printing. So for example, say I'm doing something and I know that I want it for the web, and I think the preset 800 by 600 is how I want it, and I decide to call it my test document. I'm going to click OK. I now have my document here, and you'll notice that it has this little X right here, and if I do something, like for example, I decide to do a paint right here, blah, blah, blah. You notice now there's a little star. That means that it's not saved. Whenever you're working, it's always a good idea to, first of all, save your document. So if you go File, Save, or Save As, you can sort of save your document here. Now, if you want to actually open a document, that's a little bit different. So it's always good to save an image with full quality. So you notice that this is saving it as a JPEG, which is a flat image, versus if I save as a PSD file, which is our TIFF, this is a Photoshop file. And this is what you'll need to be saving your documents as when you are actually having multiple layers, because a JPEG is completely flat. It's just flattens everything into one layer. Whereas if I have multiple layers here, this will be saved in a Photoshop, a PSD, or a TIFF file. So now if I want to open an existing document, like a File, Open, and say I want to open this one, and then you can see now I actually have this document to work on. Now, once I start sort of adding to it, and say I put a new layer because I want to draw on top of it, I'm like darkening it, it's like looks great. Now you notice it's not saved anymore. Now I do File, Save As, and I would save it as a PSD, because that way I would save sort of the layers that I'm working on. Now you can always sort of use your sort of selection tools right here. We got the marquee, we have the lasso, we have the magic wand, and we'll go over these later. You can always select part, or Command or Control A, select everything. Copy, you can do right here, copy, or you can do the shortcut of Control or Command C, and you can like paste things from one document to another. So you notice that what I selected was on layer 1, versus if I went down to the background layer, copy and paste. So it's always important to know what layer you're on when you're working with your document, or else you won't be pasting and copying the right information. So that's sort of a basic overview of opening or creating a new document.